In this segment of the Envision Tomorrow Plus training series, I'm going to talk about using the Project Setup tool. This is a tool that helps create a geodatabase, which is something you'll need to be able to run and operate Envision Tomorrow Plus. So to get started, I am going to open an MXD in ArcGIS. Now, this map I've got set up is really pretty simple. I have an aerial acting as a base map. I also have our parcel layer that was going to act as our paintable surface, and I also have a study area boundary, and that's just for my reference. So to get started creating this geodatabase, I am going to go to the ET Project Setup button, click on it, and you can see that there's 5 steps here, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. And I'm going to start here on step 1, project settings. So it's going to ask us to define our workspace, our project workspace. So I'm going to go out and find a folder I've created for that, and it's called right here, ET Training Video Example Geodatabase, and I'm going to plug that in right here. The next step is it's going to ask me to name our geodatabase that we're going to create. So I'm going to call that Envision Tomorrow Test. The next step is it's going to ask us what our feature source is, and in this case they're parcels. So I'm going to choose parcels, but I could choose grid cells only. If we were doing a large regional plan, that might be a more appropriate geography to select. Or if I was doing a city that transformed into ag lands, I might choose the parcel grid hybrid. But today we're going to use parcels only. So the grid cell size is grayed out. I don't need to worry about that. In the select parcel layer, I'm going to find my layer here, which is Meadowbrook Scenarios, and put that in here. And it's going to ask me to select the project extent. Now, all of my parcels are in the view here, so I can use this current view extent, but I might want to choose parcel layer extent, or maybe use them on a custom where I plug in my own coordinates. It's then going to ask me to go out and select my Envision Excel file. I've also been calling it the summary spreadsheet, which is right here. And the data frame projection, it is going to find this by itself by looking at the data source on this Meadowbrook scenario, so we don't need to worry about that. So that's step 1. Step 2, I don't have any constraints on this map, but if I had something such as wetlands or maybe historical structures that I did not want to be able to paint over and wanted them to be taken out of the equation, I could do so right here by checking them on here, and I could also give them a buffer. On step 4, on this step, it allows you to create an attribute table that is easier for Envision Tomorrow Plus to read. So, for instance, if your parcel layer had, let's say residential single family is what it was named, Envision Tomorrow calls that existing single family. So it's just reclassifying the names of your tables, of your attribute tables and columns, and you could do that in this step 4 field map here. I'm not going to worry about it because the example I'm using on the Wasatch Front, we already have a data layer that's very useful for Envision Tomorrow. On step 5, in the sub areas, you could define some sub areas here. I don't have any, so I'm going to move through this step. But at that point, you're going to come down here and hit the Run button. That's on step 5, the Run button. Click on that, and it's going to ask if we'd like to proceed. We're going to hit Yes. And you can see the green wording going by here that it's working and creating its the layers it needs to. And it'll also give us a warning that says it's completed its processing and we can review the following file here. So at that point, I'm going to go check and see if it made my geodatabase. So I've opened the folder where we selected, and sure enough, Envision _test geodatabase. It looks like it made it. So at that point, when we go to our Envision Paint tools, now we have a geodatabase. When we go to the Envision File Geodatabase button, we have a geodatabase that we can connect to. Anyway, thank you for your time today, and hopefully this video is helpful as you're using Envision Tomorrow Plus. Thank you.
Brought to you by Envision Utah, because how we grow matters.